Different countries in the world use different type of electric plug. For example, in Malaysia, the Type G plug 3 pins British standard is used throughout the country. It's also commonly used in United Kingdom and Ireland and Singapore and Gulf countries. And the thing is that since different countries use different type of electric plug, maybe your country use a different type, not the same as like this one. Going to traveling to or doing a visit to another country could be an issue if you don't have another type of electric plug or at least a travel adapter. For example, when I was visiting Thailand a few years before, obviously before COVID, the plug, the socket on the wall is not matched with this. Is not matched with this, so much so that there is a need of a travel adapter to charge my phone. Why this situation is happened? Why in the time of this modernization, industrialization, and standardization became a thing, electric plug is different in each countries. There are about not less than 15 types of electric plugs existed throughout the world. And why is this so difficult to standardize the electric plug throughout the world, which means like the whole country, at least one region, use only a single type of electric plug? I will explain it one by one. But first, let's take a look at a little bit of the history of electric plug itself. It is as old as applied electricity, which means like in the 19th century, after the invention of the light bulb, other electric appliances start to appear, electric fans, vacuum cleaners, and the issue at the time is that the only removable electric socket at that time is the socket of the light bulb. So if you want to use the electric fan and also the vacuum cleaner in the late 19th century, you need to remove the light and take the socket and put it up to the ceiling where often the light is. And there are two issues about this thing. Number one, it's so impractical that it is hard to reach the ceiling, especially if the electric socket is located really high in the ceiling, not in the wall. So it takes time and effort to install the electric plug. And the second thing is, what happens if you want to use the electric fan at night or vacuum cleaner at night, just to annoy your neighbors next door with the noisy things? And this is the situation where the demand of electric socket and specified electric plug comes from. And the earliest stages, the earliest form of electric plug was invented by Harvey Hubble, and he invented this is quite a prototype of like the old type of the two pins electric plug. It look like this, commonly used nowadays in United States and America, and also in Japan, to pin like this. However, European countries have different ideas. After the aftermath of the World War I, the countries start to use a different type of plugs. I will tell later on, and also in the United Kingdom and also in Southeast Asian countries. I will explain one by one, probably in the end. So stay tuned. So now let's explore the types of plugs available in the world. The first type of plug is A and B, commonly found in United States of America, in Canada, and also in Japan. These are two types or two pin that look like this. Yeah, it's really common. And until now, I cannot believe that this two pin of really modest electric plug is used to power everything electrically powerful. For example, washing machine or air conditioner. I cannot believe it, because in Malaysia this type of plug is used, and compare that with the size, it's really big in comparison. Because in United States of America and also in Japan, the electric transmission use the wire between the electric power station to the household, the consumer is about 110 volt, or in Japan it's 100 volt. Usually 50 megahertz. Japan is half 50 megahertz and 60 megahertz of frequency. Because of this kind of low frequency, probably they allow the possibility of the small electric plug look like this. That's why. But in Europe, after the destruction of the World War I, so all the infrastructure need to be rebuilt, and the continental, I'm not sure at the constitution at the time, after the European countries found out that the wiring, the electric transmission with 220 volt and 240 volt of electricity with the same frequency, 50 megahertz and 60 megahertz, makes much more economical because it's demand less wiring, because copper to make wires is expensive, and also the lesser cost and to transmit it, and also it's much cheaper to maintain. That's why European countries using 220 and 240 volt of electricity, and they explain plug E and plug F used in throughout Europe. Usually in the most popular plug used is type F, or also known as Schuko plug. This is common throughout the European Union members countries, and also in France, in Belgium, and also in the former Soviet Union, plug type E is also used. The difference is that the plug is quite the same, but the difference on the socket. The type E socket, they have like a one pin as a earth pin, whereas the Schuko plug didn't have that one. So that's the only main difference. But other than this, just a similar type of the plug. A, B, E, F. Okay, how about D? D is this type of the plug, which is three rounded pins on the head. This commonly used in India, and some of the variant also used in South Africa. It used to be used throughout the United Kingdom and also other Commonwealth countries. For example, in Malaysia, a long time ago, when I was really small, usually the type D is used to power up the really powerful electric appliances. For example, air conditioner or a refrigerator. Because at that time there is no like standardization like G type as wide as today. So that is why like the D plug is only exists in a country where it not been destroyed by the World War II, India and also South Africa. But in the countries that has been experienced the aftermath of World War II, for example, the blitz in United Kingdom and also in Southeast Asia after being colonized by the Japanese Empire, so the electric infrastructure has been destroyed and need to be reset back from scratch. So the type G has been appeared as type of a standardization throughout the Commonwealth nation to speed up the infrastructure rebuilding, because prior to the World War II, different type of electric plugs and sockets and transmission being used. So much so it's being not only confusing, but it also makes the reconstruction after the war is complicated. So to make all things easier, so only one standard was adapted, which is the British standard 3 plug pin flag like this. The flag like this. And you might ask, why the Gulf countries use 3 pins as that? The answer is simple. British influence, because British used to become part of the not colonizer but protectorate of the modern Gulf countries, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, and also the Arab Emirates, and also the Sultanate of Oman, and also Saudi Arabia, because British influence there. So we already explained the type of plugs A, B, C, D, E, F, G. How about H? H, since Arab countries use G plug, H plug is used in Israel and Palestinian territories. Why they use a different type of plug neither similar to European Shuko or Arabian slash English G. I have no idea. If you have an idea, maybe you can write something down below. Why Israel and Palestinian territories use the plug not found anywhere else in the world. Type H type H plug. It initially used to be like flat like this, but then changed to round, so it's much more easier to enter. A B C D E F G H I. The plug type I is round, have a round head like Shuko, but the difference is that with the pin, it also have a 3 pins. Some appliances they have 2 pins for the low voltage appliances. In China, for example, they use the country use this type of 3 pins electric plug. The top pin, the single earth pin on top, and also the two the live and neutral on top. In Australia, this type of pin also being used, but since Australia is a upside down country, so much the plug is also being upside down. So if let's say that someone from China visiting Australia, you just turn off the plug and basically match all the same thing. A B C D F A G H I and J. J plug is usually used in is only used in Switzerland and the Principality of Liechtenstein. Yeah, Liechtenstein. And the plug is a 3 rounded pin. Is not as the same as like this one. I will explain what is this later on. A J is totally different from its neighboring electric plugs. For example, French type E or German Schuko use standard type F. The reason is simple, because Switzerland is a neutral country, so in order to avoid some complication or invasion for such, they already think Switzerland already think that they need to use different type of plugs compared with the neighbors. So if they say there is an invasion, they want to use something to charge it up, the plug is not compatible at all. So that is why Switzerland use type G plug, different than the other European members. Type K is probably the happiest plug ever invented in the world, because look at the smile. This is the happiest plug out of all in Denmark, and also used in Greenland and also the Faroe Island. Since Denmark is one of the most happiest country in the world, so much so that the plug is also need to reflect as such. Even though the plug is quite literally smiling, actually it's quite compatible with the German or EU standard Schuko plug as well. And to avoid unauthorized use, especially in the hospital, there is some jokes we say that the cleaner will come every Friday and pull out the plug in the ICU. So they have so in Denmark, some hospital they have installed this type of a winky face, winky smiley socket and winky smiley plug. They have smiling plug, and Denmark also have a winky plug. What a happy country, I think. And the L type is used mainly in Italy and also in Chile. Three parallel pins, round pins, being like in the same shape as J plug. But the difference is that the 3 plug is hardly compatible with most of the socket available in other countries. So much so that actually Italy also start to slowly adapt it Schuko plug, the EU standard plug as well. And this one, the type N plug commonly used in Brazil. It kind of similar with the type J Swiss plug, but a little bit different actually. And finally, the most common type of all, the most widely used plug in the world probably is the Euro plug type C. This is actually the European standard, not the type F Schuko. This is simply called Schuko is simply like a kind of EU standard also, because it's widely used in EU members country, and also is compatible with most of the plugs, most of the socket around it, including in the former Soviet Union. And Europlug is compatible with quite a number of other types of the electric socket available, including in Malaysia type G, because like they have two pins, so it's much more easier to enter. For example, I show you, this is a type G electric socket. Yeah, actually this is extension, just show it's such an easy to enter like this one. Yeah, but beware, in the wall, actually the electric socket did not accept two pin to for the safety, because this one is a new not earth pin. So the reason is that why the electric socket in the wall didn't accept like kind of like this one, like this adapter, because like Malaysia has a lot of rain and a lot of thunder and a lot of thunderstorm, so electric surge can happen any day, and it can damage electric appliances really fast with the blink of an eye. So that is why like most of almost all of the electric socket in Malaysia, they don't accept this, like so much so that the another type of adapter need to be used. For example, like this one, this also commonly used for the Malaysian household. Install like this and put like this. Also this, and it is also compatible with the type C and type D, E, F, many types of actually. So the only weakness for the Europlug Type C is that it's only used to power low voltage appliances, for example a phone charger or printer, or table lamp. In washing machine or air conditioner, a refrigerator cannot use this type of plug. After we are exploring all these type of plugs around the world, so you might ask yourself a question: why does the whole world use at least 15 types of plugs and not one type? For the sake of modernity or simplicity, standardization, easy to make. The number one reason why different countries use different type of plugs is that this electric plug is a patented design. In order to produce, even to mass produce this type of electric plug, the manufacturer need to get the patent permission first before they can mass produce it. And because of this, some of the countries, because of the patent issue as well, and also because of the national security, because of the protecting the national security, for example like Switzerland decided not to use the mass produced type of electric plug used in other countries and use other design instead. So maybe one country's already adapted like the old design, not being revised for like tens of years. For example, India, like India and South Africa use the round pin instead of the newer British and Malaysian plug, which is much more flat. They simply use the round pin, because why need to upgrade, because the one already there is still working, and they need and also the Indian manufacturers, electrical manufacturers, need to pay for the manufacturers for this brand new design. So why bother to pay more for the brand new design, because since they can keep producing the old ones. The second reason is that different countries use a different voltage and frequency to supply the electricity from their power generator to the household and industrial consumers. In America, in United States of America, in Canada, in Japan, mainly use 100 or 110 volt voltage and 50 or 60 hertz frequency, whereas much of the part of the world using 220 or up to 240 volt of voltage. The voltage is already different, so that explain why the electric plug need to be different. Since United States and Japan use a lower voltage, so that explains the small tiny electric plug. Whereas in Malaysia and also in Singapore, United Kingdom, as such, using 240 volts of voltage, big plug is necessary because because maybe 240 volt cannot suitable for this type of electric plug anyway. And because of the weather condition, because of the environment as well, because there is rain and thunder in quite some days, so this design is actually quite much safer than the 2-pin, because the earth pin is connected with the earth, of course, is to prevent the electric surge from the thunderstorm, and to prevent electric appliances damage. This one don't have the earth pin, and the electric appliances is exposed to the elements. And the third reason is that is the cost of the electricity infrastructure. In order to standardize the plug, in order to standardize the socket, it's not only the plug and socket need to be changed, it is the whole electrical infrastructure in one particular country or the region. Changing the electric socket and plug in one household is already will consume a lot of financial burden for the household, especially the lower income. Imagine the whole country need to rip up everything from the not only the plug and socket, but for the electric transmission, the transformers, and everything from A to Z need to be revamped in order to standardize everything. It is such a troublesome. Why need to change a system that is already working well? According to a one-paper research in the year 2017, to standardize the whole electrical system in the European Union will cost about 100 billion euros and take about 75 years if they start right now. As such, 100 billion, instead of changing plugs and sockets in the wall for the sake of standardization, is better being spent elsewhere. For example, reconstruction of Ukraine. I just give it a suggestion. As such, the country stuck with the design they have, the electric plug they have, then just keep continuing for the sake of simplicity and also practicality. And the fourth reason is that for the strategic reason. Remember why the Swiss use this type of this shape of the electric plug, while the whole other countries or the surrounding neighbors use around electric plug. It's because to prevent to prevent unauthorized use, especially in the event of eventual invasion, for example, or I don't know, something happened in Switzerland in the future. So that is why the plug is different than the other members in the country. The same reason why might be the reason why Israel and Palestinian territories use H type plug, whereas the Arab countries use G type plug, like this. And another side of the coin is that if someone need to use their own electric appliances to charge the phone, or using laptop or computers in another country, just use the really travel adapter like this. Travel adapter can be used to connect all the type of the electric pins available around the world, and it only costs about, in Malaysia, these things cost about $10, 40 ringgit. 40 ringgit is quite a fair price. Actually, you can get it much cheaper. And very rarely people moving from to another country, they bring also the heavy electrical appliances. Somehow maybe bring also the refrigerator or air conditioner if they can. It very likely actually it's much cheaper to buy the new plug to an already being used electrical appliances. Actually it's way much cheaper it being so as a conclusion, different countries in the world use different types of plugs because of the history of the electrical electric um, infrastructure development, and because of the patented issues, because one country don't want to use another patent, they won't need to pay more, so just use whatever design they can access in the cheap with a cheaper price with more practicality. And also because of the cost reason, that's why many countries don't want to adapt a single universal design of electric plug and electric socket. It's cumbersome, it takes a lot of money, and the benefit isn't there. So that's why, like, this is the reason the whole world still use different types of electric plugs. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next episode. Bzz.